Hey guys, Dom here, back with another video on Legends, but today it's another one of the custom card little archetype enhancement videos, and I know that Legends is going to stop putting out content for now, but I'm going to continue on the show because I quite enjoy it, and hopefully you guys do as well. But today we'll be looking at Reachman. So these are the Forswom cards and other ones from the Reach in Skyrim, and yeah, their kind of overall basis is that they have a sort of ability which buffs other cards or relies around them having different kind of buffs on them. So when thinking of these custom cards, I thought what goes alongside with cards which obviously want to have their stats increased for each other. Like if you look at most of them, their initial stat blocks are actually quite low, excluding Doomfang Ally, but they all have abilities which will increase other people's or their own actual stats, except I guess Forsworn Looter, but if that is buffed, it's more rewarding for its item grab. So yeah, other than that, let's just look into the cards I've made. So the first one that I went with is Forswom Ambushers, a 2-cost 1/2, which when summoned, summons a silenced copy of this card in the other lane. This is just nice to kind of summon out 2 units at once, and it's not with some sort of action card, so when it's buffed in the deck through cards that I'll show off later, it actually gets hit, and if it was an action, obviously that effect would be avoided. So this is just quite a nice 2/4 drop, pretty much, in 2 units in 2 different lanes. It's very much something that you have multiple units, so you always have a target that you can select and increase the attack and health of. But other than that, there's not really that much to say about it. It's just another generic common card which goes along with the archetype. Okay, so next we have the Reach Skirmisher, a 2-cost 3/2, which has the ability Summon. If you have a boosted creature in this lane, this card gains charge. So this goes along with the synergy of all the cards, boosting one another, and this one gets obviously a nice keyword, which can relate to an aggro sort of deck with these kind of cards. As I feel like a neutral deck like this would probably want to have some sort of aggro mechanic, as most of the cards are relatively low cost in comparison to some other archetypes, and obviously if you've got a bunch of low cost cards, you want to be finishing the game quite quickly before your opponent can get out their big boy 12 cost chads and completely sweep your field. When looking for power stats or stat blocks for this card, I wanted to make it good enough that on its own it would be great, but thinking about it now, I probably should have made it a bit lower in comparison to, or because of cards that I'll be showing off later on in this video. Okay, so the Frenzied Ravager. This has the ability Summon. If the top card of your deck is neutral, draw a card, and if it's a Reachman, give it +1/+1. So this would just be your kind of archetypes, draw power, and also sticking with the boosting theme. But this would also kind of impact why your deck should be a pure neutral deck if this was going to happen and become a real card, because it then means that the chance of you drawing goes up to, well, 100% if it's completely neutral. So yeah, there's not really much else to say. Obviously kind of lowish stat block, but that's just so, you know, the draw power isn't too overpowered. It just kind of works quite nicely. Right, Reach Trapper is a 3-cost 2/1, which when summoned shuffles a hidden pit trap and a hidden net trap into the deck. These cards do Prophecy, shackle enemy and reduces health to 1, and shackle an enemy creature and reduces power or health to 1. It's that kind of thing of you'd have these in the deck and you'd hope you get them as prophecies, but if not, you'd draw them and you just have something to kind of mess up your opponent's field. I wasn't really too sure what to do with this card, but I wanted to get in these action cards one way or another, and as their abilities aren't too amazing, I thought they'd be much nicer as cards that get put in the deck and could be activated as prophecies, just through luck. Moving on to the final rare card, we have the Red Eagle Cultist, 5-cost 4/4, which is kind of like your, it's that high elf woman in the action mage decks, where this card is whenever a friendly creature of yours is boosted, deal 2 damage to your opponent, and this, with some other cards, could be completely feral and slam your opponent, hence the reason it's not a 5/5/5, and it's kind of got -1 to both its power and health. This is probably another one of those cards where when you're summoning it through the archetype, it's going to be buffed as well, so it does need to have a low stack block. Okay, so our first epic is also a new type. It's Hagraven Matriarch. And what this does is, when summoned, all of your boosted creatures gain a random keyword. It did at first, in my mind, seem a bit powerful, but then I did realise that there is a 2-cost action, which is a prophecy, which gives all of your creatures a keyword. So this limits how many it will give a keyword, although in a deck like this, it will most likely be all of them. And its plus type is Reachman, if you couldn't tell, just so it does fit into the archetype correctly. So the other epic I designed was a support called Forswom Encampment. It's a 7-cost, and when activated, you choose a lane. Friendly creatures in that lane have +1/+1 and break through this turn. So this is kind of just a way of slamming your opponent for one turn, and does require a nice board setup. But obviously in the correct situations, this will just allow you to wail through your opponent. And one issue I would say with it though is that as it's taking away the +1 and +1 at the end of the turn, this could end up getting some of your units to self-destruct. So yeah, that's fun. And finally we have the legendaries Forswom Briarheart and the card it summons, Forswom Looter. So Forswom Briarheart is a 5-cost 2/2, which when summoned shuffles 3 Forswom Looters into your deck and gives all Reachmen in the deck +1/+1. This is a mix between Ungolium, the Listener, and that Commander Woman in Willpower. But this obviously only buffs certain cards in the deck, and obviously is adding very weak cards into your deck as well, and it has a low stat block, so I think it's fair. And then the Forsworn Looter is a 1-cost 0/1, draw a card and give a creature +1 power. So it's just a nice kind of card which allows one of your cards to have a boost, and obviously because of how it's only summoned by Briarheart, the very first one you summon will have a stat of 1/2 initially. But yeah, I think these two are quite balanced and fair, and that's all I got to say, so it's going to conclude the video. I know Legends is going to kind of stop with content for now, so I might do some other videos on other games, but I would like to still stick with Legends, and obviously if you guys want to see that, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.